but with inalienable rights to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. And you know, I read that stuff, and you know what? I never saw anywhere that we have inalienable rights to property. Why didn't that appear? Because if it had appeared, then perhaps we might have had problems constitutionally with the institution of slavery and with the whole notion of eminent domain. Okay, we might have been left in a situation where any collective decision would require unanimity, at which point nothing gets done. So, I have problems with the idea that property rights are inalienable. I think for a more practical sort of thing. Do you have a car? Do you own a car? You don't have a car. Do you expect one day to have a car?
Yeah.
Well, if it's your car and your property, should the government tell you how you can use it? No. Okay, so if you want to go down the highway at 170 miles an hour, that's your business?
I don't want to be with you.
Okay, this gets at the question of governmental regulation, for example. Okay, do I have a right when I get on the highway to expect that I'm not going to encounter someone who is going 170 miles an hour? If the government chooses to change speed limits so that instead of 75, it chooses to go 55 as a speed limit, has the government just taken some of my property rights from me? I look at property rights in a very broad fashion. Property rights are defined by my rights to use certain things in certain ways. We have all kinds of property rights, ranging from fee simple rights to other rights that are very, very circumscribed. And those circumscribed rights enable us to live together as a society more fully, and I will argue it gives all of us, if properly done, more freedom in the form of more choices available to us. Thank you.
I begin my discussion of morality, government intervention, and the free market with the Declaration of Independence. We are endowed. Now, you do need to leave creator aside, because for the founders, creator for many of them meant nature. So let's not argue about that term. You are endowed with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, first off, as far as property is concerned, property was omitted because in the early 18th century, property meant that which was proper to us above board, which included life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and material goods, and that's why property was left out. Read the English levelers and other 18th century writers in there very clear about that. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Now, all of these rights do not involve any rights to any things. They are all rights to action. The right to life is the right to live your life as you wish. The major constraint on that being that you do not constrain the rights of others. The right to liberty is the right to take the actions, to exercise your liberty in the way that you choose, as long as you do not act against the liberty of others, with no guarantee of results. Notice the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't say you have a right to be happy or the right to any things. It says you have the right to pursue your happiness. Now, these rights set a social context for the free market. Notice that the Declaration continues that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. The idea of no government is out has no part of my argument, no part of, I think, of any good argument. Anarchy is out. It leads immediately to civil war and to tyranny right after that. There was no free market in Lebanon in the 1970s. Government sets a context for the free market. And how does it do that? It does that by holding a monopoly on the retaliatory use of force, which is directed first and foremost against criminals. And rather than going to borderline cases or judgmental cases such as speeding, I'm going to the heart of the real issue. If you come home and your house is burgled, you call the police. You don't get a torch and a shotgun and a gang and go hunt the guy down and you think that it string him up. You call the police. So the government comes out and investigates this crime, properly speaking, finds the person who did it, and there's a fair trial, presumption of innocence. If the person is found innocent, he's released, and you do not have the right to go after him any longer. So the government is absolutely necessary to set a context for the free market. Now, To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Imagine for a second that you woke up one morning and you found that you needed some money, or that your lawn chairs were all ripped and torn, you needed a new car, you needed a new house. And you called the police, and you told the police about this, and the police said, no problem, your neighbor's got this stuff, we'll go get it. And they go over next door and they take the neighbor's stuff and they bring it over to you. That's the essence of the government intervention in the marketplace, which I deny is moral. When you call the police, that's not government intervention in the marketplace. That's a government establishing the proper context for a free market. Government intervention happens when the government initiates force. Now, my opponent here thinks that this is all ambiguous. I submit that if you're put in jail or executed, there's nothing ambiguous about that. Now, why is this moral? This is moral because it strikes to the very heart of what life is. Life is a process, and here I will quote Ayn Rand on this because I can't have a better way to say it. Life is a process of self-sustaining, self-generated action. Action to sustain the living organism that is self-generated. Just think about what death is for a minute. How do you know that someone has died? The answer is lack of action. No motion, no respiration, no heartbeat, no flatline, brainwaves, etc. Life is action. And these understanding rights as rights to action to be protected by a government secured for that purpose is moral because it allows each individual to pursue his life in the context with others. You would not need rights on a desert island. You would simply do what was right for you to do in your best judgment. It's when you live with others that rights need to be defined. Since rights are going out the window today and being replaced with, rights to action are going out the window today and being replaced with the rights to things, we're reverting to what's basically an institutionalized Hobbesian state of nature, where everything is open for anyone else to take as long as you can get a big enough gang in Washington. And that is what I oppose. Now, let's think a little more deeply about why this is moral. It's easy to see right to liberty as the right to action, limited by the rights of others. And bear in mind that a rational person knows he lives with other people and does not presume to do anything he wants in contradiction to their nature because he knows that that would lead, one part of it is that it would lead to the same actions against him. It would destroy the social context and destroy the free market. But let's think about action in a different way. Your right to think is an action. Your thinking is an action. Your right to think and to think for yourself is as deeply part of you as a living being as is your physical actions and your ability to process food. When you sit at the cafeteria line, you don't eat for the person next to you. When you're in my classroom, I don't put all your papers together, mix up the pages, and give one grade to the class. I evaluate you as an individual. So this concept of rights presumes that you have the ability to think, that your ability to make choices for your own life, and that you ever have the ability to run your own life in this proper context of a free market. Free market here, we understand, is the ability to make these choices voluntarily in context with others and to deal with them